suicide culture was what we were speaking about on this program of Good Morning Sri Lanka, and it is an issue that's prevalent here in Sri Lanka. The rates, as we mentioned in earlier segments, have been going down, which is great news for our country. And we have Dr. Mahesh Rajasurya, who's been giving us all of this information on the program, very valuable insights that also about how we as individuals can approach this problem and really try to change the suicide culture that is there in Sri Lanka, even the things we say, and like you said, doctor, not to trivialize it, because at the end of the day it's the end of a life, and that is something that is very serious and should be addressed as such. But on that note, doctor, you wanted to speak to us about a few scenarios that you commonly come across, and let's analyze those and see what we can learn from them.
Yes, we have already talked about one scenario where this young girl wanted to, she probably didn't want to take her life. She just wanted to perhaps send a strong message to her mother. Let's take another man, say 45-year-old man who has depression, clinical depression from time to time. So when he gets depressed, he's very irritable, so it's very difficult to be with him when he's depressed. So this led to many problems in his marriage, and he finally ended up in divorce. And now he's alienated from even his children, because they also don't like him. He's irritable most of the time in his life, and they never had the father that they wanted. So now this man is divorced, alone, maybe he has no friends, he's having another bout of depression which is very bad, and every passing moment is agony for him. He's finding it very difficult to just spend the next minute. It's painful, and this man has no hope of being happy ever. So he feels as if the whole world is crumbling down, and there's no point in going on. So he decides to take his life, put an end to his suffering. So he plans a way to do it, and then he takes steps to achieve whatever he wanted to do, and then he may end up committing suicide. So this person, in contrast to the previous girl, is somebody who is in this end of the spectrum that we were talking about, who is really determined to kill himself, to die, to stop existing. So that person needs a lot of help to prevent this unfortunate outcome, because there are multiple factors affecting this course of action. So we need to treat his depression. We need to do something about his social isolation. Isolation is something that is very, very painful, that is makes people very, very vulnerable. So is there any person or institute or organization that he can link up with? Maybe his maybe his brother he has not spoken to for the last 10 years. He may give him a call, and we might encourage him to do that. This kind of a man would definitely most likely need admission to hospital to prevent suicide from happening in the next few days or weeks, and careful monitoring and treating his illness. And if he has any other medical condition, chronic medical conditions which are distressing or painful, is another risk factor of suicide. So he would need a lot of help to get out from this depression and to change his suicidal intention. But in contrast, if we again look at that girl, she doesn't need that much of input, long hospital admission, treatments and all that, because she probably doesn't have any mental illness. Now this is the difference with other countries. In many other countries, it's mainly the people with mental illnesses and social isolation, multiple stressors who commit suicide. But in Sri Lanka, the majority who commit suicide do not have depression or do not have any mental illness.
Majority?
The majority.
Okay.
The majority in Sri Lanka
are not depressed.
Are not who commit suicide.
Are not. Yeah.
Are not depressed.
Okay.
Do not have a mental illness. Do not have other serious risk factors. So the main reason or the main factor that drives them towards this is the suicide culture.
Oh, I see.
But the role the suicide culture plays in that man who is so determined to take his life is much less.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, nevertheless, suicide culture.
And when you speak about being admitted to hospital and receiving clinical treatment for these things, again in cultures such as ours, it becomes taboo, where people think this man has been entered to the psychiatric ward now, and so because of that social and cultural barrier that's there, again people sort of refrain from talking about the problems that they have and trying to seek help from different outlets. So in that case, if you do realize that someone is in need of help, how can you go approach it, and how can you go about getting the help that they need?
If we look at that man that we just talked about, I think he might have to be forcefully admitted to hospital. He might not, be willing to come to accept help. Yes. So you might have to forcefully admit him, but he hopefully would later appreciate what you have done for him. So, but we have to take that chance. We have to, force him, take him, and go and see a psychiatrist or a doctor. But on the other hand, a funny thing happens, although it's taboo to get admitted to a psychiatric unit, yes, I know, but we also see that people who are, on this end of the spectrum, who are not really determined to kill themselves, when they are admitted, that makes it even worse, because now their attempt is formally declared to be very serious because they're in hospital. Right. So this girl, whose dress was 950 rupees, whose sister's dress was 1050 rupees, is now very powerful. Now she is going back home as a kind of a heroine, and mother would be very careful next time not to bring a dress with a lower price tag. Yes, and she get it. May be the other sister who does all the housework and help mother and all that, and it's not the case all the time, but it may be. And this girl is the one who is always complaining, and she does this, and all the attention is paid to her. Doctors, nurses, and everybody, they counsel and tell others, now this girl is really hurt and under stress, and then be careful. And so her sister is further penalized.
Yes. Okay.
So we have to be very careful in handling after a suicide attempt. Right.
So when it's the youth, it's the responsibility of everyone around them as well to be perceptive to their problems and to see really what the issue is there. So thank you so much, Dr. Raj Surya, for being with us on the show and for giving us these really hard-hitting facts as well as the insights that you have given us into this suicide culture here in Sri Lanka. I think it's very important that we address that, and we hope that you learned something from it too. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you for being here on Good Morning Sri Lanka.
And after the break, we will be speaking to a lovely lady who speaks the language of flowers. Jason, don't you want to learn that language?
Yes, very much so I can serenade a girl.
There we go. Alright, so after the break, stay with us on Good Morning Sri Lanka. We'll be back with another great segment.
Hola, senoritas and mamacitas. I don't know where I was going with that. Welcome back to the show. You're wondering why I'm holding a rose and sniffing on this? Because it smells good. And plus our next guest, who am I, of course, is going to be a flower enthusiast who owns her own business. She's really awesome because I just met her just a few seconds ago. We have Doshara Karnarada. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Glad to have you on the show, and we have some amazing stuff.
And you brought down some lovely things for us here.
Yeah, some bouquets and stuff.
So you are the proprietor of Bloom's Flower Shop.
Yes.
And this was opened up recently, was it?
No, it's started a long time ago when I was a schoolgirl.
Oh, wow.
By my dad.
Okay.
it's just a small shop. He started as a hobby to grow flowers, and then we needed to come to Colombo to do our studies.
Okay, so where were you before that?
In Bandarville.
Okay, right.
And most of my education was there, so I grew up with all this.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bandarville is a lovely place to grow up in, I'm sure.
Oh,
And
yes.
the climate is lovely as well.
It's so different.
Yeah, not like Sri Lanka is at the moment, like Colombo especially.
The
so
heat
hot.
can get to you. Yes, that's true.
So, so from small days I had this thing about flowers,
Right.
and I used to go to my dad's shop, and but he was never around. They were always in Bandarville.
Right.
But
okay.
the thing was, I used to always go around and ask my dad, "Can I work? Can I work?"
Right. So you should obviously play around with mixing these flowers together and whatnot, and that's pretty much how that built your passion into making these.
Yeah, yes. But it didn't come easy.
Okay.
I see. It's a lot of hard work, I'm guessing.
Lots of work.
Yeah.
So
we
you
can
went,
guess that.
you went from let me work, let me work, let me work to this is a lot of hard work.
No, hard work with my dad.
Yeah.
My mom.
Okay.
Because they saw the flower shop. I mean, it was a business, but they didn't see me working in it. So they were like, "Oh, you had to study first." And I'm like, "Okay, I will study." So then I had to study, and then I did my A levels, and then it's like, "Can I work?" I was like, "No."
So one track mind you have there, Shaya.
Oh yeah, and then like, "No, no, you have to study harder. I mean, higher." So then my mom is a lawyer,
Right.
so she always said, "You can be a good lawyer," because I used to always argue with them,
Yeah.
and I still do. But then you know, what they said was right. You have to have education also behind.
Yeah.
It's not easy because today it's like very competitive. So you learn lots of other areas, not only just flower arranging,
Yeah.
how to manage business, how you can deal with clients, deal with the employees especially.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a good staff to back you up,
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult.
Right.
Because it all depends on how we do the flowers, do it on time, do it according to the way the client wants it.
Okay.
So, and also they should always should feel at home, and they should always be able to reach us.
Right.
You know, we don't want to just sell a pot of flowers
Yeah.
which already arranged and kept in some freezer
Yeah.
and say, okay, bye. No, I hate that.
Yeah.
So lots of clients, when they come to my shop, they expect some bunches already packed up in some
Yeah.
cellophane.
Just pick up and go.
So you like to
sort
get
of
to know
thing.
your client first, and then